Hello and welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host Sam Oney, and this is episode 23 with Wes Spearman. How are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. It feels like a long time, and it's been about 3 or 4 weeks, isn't it, since we've done one of these? But yeah, obviously F1's summer break, and I know you've been on a bit of a summer break as well.
Yeah, been on a nice holiday in Spain and wasn't able to get anywhere near the Spanish Grand Prix track, but it was great all the same. And yeah, you're right. F1 is back this weekend, the Belgian Grand Prix, and honestly. But when you think of Belgium, let's play that game quickly where you say like one word and just quickly. Right, Belgium.
In terms of like the track or or
Yeah,
just
yeah,
Belgium.
yeah.
I mean, if it's just the track, I'd probably just go historic. Um, Thinking about Belgium in general, I'd probably go waffles or chocolate.
That's very true. So like I said, Belgium again is a historic track. I think one of the best features about it is probably, you know, after going down the hairpin on the start finish line, you go around the hairpin, through Radion, no, through Eau Rouge, up Radion, that's it. And I think that area there is just such an eye opener. It's just exciting. And that's probably something that stands out to me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the best some sort of series of corners, if you like, because it is two corners. You go over the downhill left hand and then uphill through Radion. I think they've made some safety changes to it off the back of last year, so be interested to see if that makes any difference. I wouldn't have thought so. Maybe might slow the cars down a little bit because there were a lot of safety concerns, especially a couple of years ago when Antoine Hubert sadly lost his life at that corner. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not just that good. You've got the Kemmel Straight, you've got Pooh on the sort of almost flat out left hander. It's the longest track on the calendar as well. And who knows what the weather's going to throw up, as we saw last year. I think this weekend it's supposed to rain a bit as well, but hopefully not not quite as much as last year. Hopefully we'll actually be able to see some sort of proper racing there. But yeah, Spa is just one of the jewels on the calendar, I think. And I suppose with a lot of these European tracks, I mean, we've got a triple header coming up now. We go to Spa in Belgium, across the border into the Netherlands to Zandvoort, then over to Monza in Italy for the third race in 3 weeks. Then there's a 2 week break, which is a little bit odd. They perhaps could have spread these races out a little bit more. Maybe do Belgium, Netherlands because they're right next door to each other practically. Then have a week break in then Monza, but it's a triple header. I think the first one of the year. I think we had two triple headers last year, so at least they're sort of sorting the schedule out a little bit. Um, yeah, as far as it's one of the all-time great F1 tracks, I think, and yeah, it's as I say, just one of the jewels in the calendar.
Indeed. And let's take you back 12 months to this exact track. And like you said, it wasn't really racing this time last year in Spa because it was hit with heavy rain. You know, I remember it because I was listening to it on BBC radio, and you know what? I heard more of uh, Jack Nichols speaking than I did hearing um, engine engine noise from the car. And Jack Nichols' great commentary, but it was just pouring with rain. We were just waiting for hours. I think it was what 3 hours until F1 directors made a decision.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, it was a long time. I think I remember it. I remember it as well because I was listening to the radio commentary as well, and you heard was it Jack Nicholson, Jolene Palmer, and Andrew Benson maybe. The amount of filling they had to do, because
Yeah.
I mean usually you go to a race day and you sort of know what you're going to get. Well, in some ways, but I don't think many people prepare for that much filler to fill for 2-3 hours on radio. I mean, hats off to them for doing that. Um, yeah, I think I was on the train back from Warsaw that day listening to it, and I was at the hour and a half, 2 hours it took me to get back to hometown. They still didn't start racing, so, which just shows how long it travelled about 100 miles, and the cars in Spa did 0 miles. So it was a bit, well, not a bit of a farce, quite a farce, I think, for everyone except perhaps George Russell getting P2 at the end of the day, his first podium in F1 and his first for Williams. Um, all things, I mean, if everything goes to plan or not as chaotic as last year, then he'll probably be on the podium again this time round, but obviously in a Mercedes. Can he get his first race win? Who knows? Maybe. Not too sure. But yeah, last year was just a complete farce, and I suppose one of many mistakes that race control made last year. I mean, we can talk about that till the cows come home, I think. But yeah, hopefully this time it'll be a bit more streamlined.
So say that we do have a race this weekend with rain, not as chaotic. What are you expecting? Who do you think is going to come out on top in qualifying and on the race itself? Because Belgium, if I had to describe it, it's a track where not necessarily like decides, you know, it doesn't decide the championship, but I think Belgium is a kind of track where, it holds some sort of prestige, if you get what I mean, like some sort of
Mm.
importance.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it is one of those jewels in the crown. Like you've also got Monaco, you've got Silverstone, Monza as well, perhaps. Can't think of too many more that could probably consider these like historic tracks that all the drive. I mean, every driver wants to win a Grand Prix, but if you want to win a race, if you had to pick one to win, then you're going to choose maybe your home race foremost. But besides that, you got Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Monaco. I think those are the four main, more prestigious Grand Prix on the calendar.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean, looking to the actual sort of drivers and cars themselves, I think it's hard to fit anything past Max Verstappen. Um, but then, having said that, I would like to see Ferrari bounce back. They had the pretty atrocious last few races, to be honest, with strategy or just cars DNFing or yeah, recently obviously Ferrari haven't been at their best, and hopefully 4 week break would have done them some good. They can sort of just relax a little bit before thinking, right, what can we do? Well, how do we get back at Max Verstappen and Red Bull? And obviously Leclerc won his first Grand Prix at Spa as well. Well, not last year, but a few years ago now. So hopefully that'll pump him up a little bit, maybe. He's only got 2 race wins for Leclerc this year, compared to Verstappen like 6 or 8 or something. Yeah, Leclerc is 80 points behind Verstappen as well, so he needs to get going pretty quickly, I think. Um, I would like Ferrari to bounce back, but I don't really see it, to be honest, especially given their last few races.
I mean, because that reminds me, I saw something on WTF1 on Twitter, and which it's kind of like a crystal ball moment. So basically, it was you know, it was their tweet was about displaying the title challenges of each year between 2017 and 2022. So like in 2017, um, I believe it was Vettel who won. I think he won yeah, Vettel won the opening race of the 2017 season. However, he ended up finishing P2, losing out to Lewis Hamilton 2018. I don't know. I think it was Bottas.
Bottas, I think it was. Yeah,
Bottas
they're
this
18 and
time.
19. Yeah.
Yeah, 18 and 19 this time, losing out to Hamilton in both years. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct.
Or
Then
it might have been Vettel for 18 as well. I can't remember, but yeah, basically everyone for the last 5 years now.
5 years.
Everyone who's won that opening race.
Yeah,
Obviously Leclerc won in Bahrain this year, the
this
opening
year.
race of the season. Everyone since 2017 who's won the opening race has gone on to finish second in the championship, and it's looking like much the same this year, to be honest.
Yeah. Because I was looking at that and well, if you're a Charles Leclerc fan and you've put in like it's not looking great for the Monegasque. I mean, 80 points is a lot of points to make up, especially in 9 races. So, and what, 25 points for first place. So you're looking at, he needs what, 25, 50, say 4 wins at least consecutively.
I mean, if you think that 25 points is the minimum you can get for a win, if you want to get another for fastest lap, but the second place you get 17, which is 8 points behind. So Leclerc needs to win. What round are we now? 14, and there's 22 left. So Leclerc has to win pretty much every race from now. If Verstappen finishes second, he'll only just catch him by Abu Dhabi. I mean, if Leclerc doesn't get an extra point, if neither of them get an extra point for fast lap, we'll be in the exact same situation as last year when
Oh,
both
stop
drivers are
it.
level,
Stop it. We don't.
level going into the last race. Actually, no, they won't. No, they won't. Leclerc will be 8 points behind. Um, but yeah, that it just I don't see Verstappen finishing off the podium in any of these races unless he has an issue or makes a mistake. And Verstappen hasn't made many mistakes, if any, really. Besides his spin in Hungary, but he still won the race then. Whereas Leclerc has made a couple of mistakes I can think of this year. Yeah, since those opening rounds of the season, Red Bull's reliability has been spot on, whereas Ferrari they had the DNF with Sainz in Austria,
Australia.
and they had was it Australia and Austria? Someone DNF'd in Austria as well. I think Leclerc had a relatively recent DNF as well. Or certainly finished outside.
He spun out in Paul Ricard.
Yes, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's another mistake. He's made the mistake at Imola, which saw him drop down to about ninth, I think it was, before going back up to finish sixth, I think. And then, yeah, obviously that mistake, as you mentioned, at Paul Ricard. Yeah, as I say, Leclerc and Ferrari have got a lot of work to do because I can't see Verstappen finishing any lower than P3 for the rest of the season. Might, as I say, it might make a mistake or Red Bull, there's something wrong with the car, but I just don't see that happening. And yeah, I think I mentioned last time round that no one who's led by this many points in the championship has ever been caught, and I don't see that for a reason for that to change this year.
So, how do you predict the Belgian Grand Prix panning out? Who do you predict to go on pole? And give us your top 5 and also driver of the day.
Hmm. Um, I'm gonna go Charles Leclerc for pole position. Not too sure why, especially after what I've just said about Ferrari. Um, yeah, I feel like he'll get pole, and it'll just sort of lift everyone up and just be like, oh, hello, a Ferrari on their way back this year. But I think Verstappen's going to win the race. I don't see Leclerc or Ferrari winning this Grand Prix. So I think Verstappen and that Red Bull, they're a match made in heaven, I think. And it's just that it's one of the, or could potentially be one of the all-time great sort of driver car partnerships, like obviously Hamilton and Mercedes, Schumacher, Ferrari. It could end up being something similar to that with Verstappen and Red Bull. Yeah, driver of the day. I'm gonna go Lando Norris.
Okay.
I think he's had a pretty good season. I think he's like fifth or sixth in the championship, maybe a little bit lower than that actually.
He's
I'm just
seventh,
trying to find where he's
seventh in
seventh.
the
Yeah,
championship with 76 points.
and it wasn't too long ago where he um, was just a few points behind Hamilton. He's still 18 points ahead of Ocon. I don't see anyone overtaking him. To be honest, I think Norris is pretty much set for seventh, which is pretty much best of the rest when you think about it. Um, I can just see him having a pretty good race around Spa, especially if he starts a little bit lower, just qualifies like 10th or something and finishes sixth maybe, for example. That could be something driver of the day worthy. Um, yeah, going into top five. Obviously Verstappen first. I'll go Leclerc second and Perez P3. Go Russell P4 and Sainz P5.
Okay, not bad. Right. Pole position, Charles Leclerc. Ferrari need a big lift off into Belgium. Um, they really need to get their strategy right. That's the big thing because strategy is important and it hasn't really worked out well for the Scuderia, for the Tifosi. Um, you know what? I'm gonna put all my eggs in one basket and go for double sweep as well to win the race. Charles Leclerc to win the race. As long as they get their strategy right, then I don't see why they can't win. But one one mistake and it could all go poof. Driver of the day. You know what? I'm gonna set it in motion. Mick Schumacher for driver of the day. Well, driver of the day. Yeah, I know, I know.
Interesting.
Starts starts in P16. So P16 is what? Q2, Q3? No, Q1, Q2.
This is the last spot in Q1, I think. I think
Yeah,
16th is the last. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, starts in P16, and I think he could make up a few places, could, and then he could possibly end up finishing. This is kind of mad, but P13, P12. Now that's pretty big for a Haas to finish in P12. I don't know if we've had K Mag finish in the top 10 this season, but
Yeah.
if
They've
so,
both got, I think K-Mag, I feel like he's finished sixth in one race. I can't remember when, but he's definitely, it might have been the opening race or something, but, or it might have been P8. Yeah, K-Mag's definitely been inside that top 10 a few times, as does Schumacher. I think Schumacher got a P6 as well.
oh yeah, he did.
I
Was
can't
it?
remember when it was.
Yeah,
He's definitely got a P6. I want to say France, but I can't 100% commit to that. I've got no idea really, but
yeah.
he's definitely got a P6. He's definitely got sixth place.
Anyway, P12 finish. I think he to finish P12, and I think he'll be a good driver of the day. So yeah, and then top five, fifth place. I'm gonna say George Russell. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton will be P5 and P4. And then the podium, we've got Charles Leclerc on the top step, Max Verstappen to his right. No, yeah, to his right in second. And then Sergio Perez in third place. I'm not so convinced on Carlos Sainz. No. He's a great driver, but I just think he's almost making a bit too many mistakes. So that's it. That's the Belgian Grand Prix set. Staying with Belgium though, in the last few days there's been some chatter in the F1 world that Spa may not be on the calendar next year. And how do you feel about that?
It'll be a travesty if Spa isn't on the calendar, not just next year, but for pretty much any F1 season to come. Because I suppose F1 are a bit obsessed with creating these sort of street circuit because
Yes.
thinking back to recent years, we've got Las Vegas coming next year.
No, don't like
We've
it.
had
Throw it in the bin. No.
we've had Baku recently.
Yeah, yeah, Baku,
Other
yeah.
street circuits. I mean, they wanted to do one in Hanoi in Vietnam. Another street circuit. I feel like there's been loads and loads of street circuit. I mean, even on the calendar today, I mean, we've got Jeddah, we've got Australia, which is a street circuit, Canada, which is technically a street circuit, Monaco, obviously. There's probably more, but I can't I can't think of it off the top of my head. Baku, as I've already mentioned. There just seems to be so many street circuits when you got such historic tracks like, as we mentioned, Spa, but not just not just Spa, but all around the world, historic tracks that aren't, or purpose built racetracks as well, that aren't being used, like Kilami in South Africa,
Yeah.
Fuji in Japan, um,
Malaysia.
Malaysia, yes, Sepang, Shanghai, although not quite sure what the COVID situation is in China at the moment, but I mean, Shanghai isn't a brilliant circuit, but it's a purpose-built circuit.
Mm.
Turkey as well,
Oh yeah.
Hockenheim, Nürburgring, and the list goes on and on. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought Spa would be leaving us, but yeah, it is a bit worrying that these rumors have started to sort of circulate a bit, and yeah, as I say, it'll just be a complete travesty if if Spa or any of those sort of crown jewel circuits leaves F1.
I think we should have a create your own calendar 2.0 in the future. Um, but yeah, like you said, um, there seems to be a lot of street tracks coming up, and don't get me wrong, street tracks are great, but when you have too much, it takes away the like prestige of all the old tracks that we're used to. You know, we've had the Sepang in the past, Hockenheim, and yeah, you know, it just takes away that excitement from all the original tracks, and you just, you know, putting them under the carpet. And you know, as F1 fans, you want to see great racing in iconic tracks. But I'd love for Belgium to stay on next year. Honestly, I'd really do, really do.
Yeah, I think that goes for pretty much every F1 fan. I mean, there are some good street tracks. As I mentioned, Baku always throws up a surprise. Singapore is all right. Canada, Australia, especially after Australia's changes this year. Um, if Spa loses out to some nothing track that's just been created for money, basically, um, is yeah, that's probably one foot in the grave for for F1.
So we did have a quiz prepared, but due to time, we're gonna probably leave that for next week. And well, just quickly, the driver standings before coming into Belgium. I think we've touched on it very lightly. Well, Verstappen is getting his engine ready to extend his 80-point gap over Charles Leclerc. You know, because 258 points is not a big gap for Charles Leclerc. Well, to the Monegasque driver, please, please, please get your engine rolling and start winning races, please. Um, Other mentions, well, Carlos Sainz is just 2 points behind George Russell, which the battle for fourth place is pretty much on. If Charles Leclerc is not careful, he could finish third this season if things were to go wrong.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Perez is only 5 points behind Leclerc in third place, Leclerc obviously second. I mean, if the Mercedes get their house together and find a sudden burst of pace, then Leclerc may fall into fourth if Russell somehow overtakes him. Um, the battle for 10th is on between Alonso and Magnussen, and it gets quite close between like Ricciardo, Gasly, Vettel. Vettel and Gasly joint on points in 13th, but obviously going down the grid, they have to work a bit harder because you get fewer points for finishing 8th, 9th, 10th. Yeah, I don't see Leclerc reeling in Verstappen, but Perez could quite well slip into second.
So it seems that Sergio Perez is the man to watch, maybe, if you're Charles Leclerc. Well, we've come to the end of another episode. Do not forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. I've been your host, Sam Oni, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye bye.
And we hope you enjoy the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend.